If you think Tserriednich is Beyond's son and Netero's grandson, or even believe that Beyond has a child among the princes, at all this video will change your mind. We all know that Netero's abilities are somewhat tied to time. Thanks to his meditation training, Netero was able to surpass the speed of sound, reaching a level where he could deliver thousands of strikes in just a few seconds. Meruem and Pitou felt as if time had stopped while receiving Netero's attacks. So, when you see that Tserriednich's abilities are also related to time, it's easy to understand why many believe that all the evidence points to him being Netero's grandson and Beyond's son. In chapter 394, we learned that during Tserriednich's time at the military academy, an incident occurred with one of his classmates. Tserriednich acted arrogantly in the academy because he was a prince. His classmate told him, if you want to act superior just because of your title, at least achieve results that justify it. In response, Tserriednich locked himself in his room, training without food or sleep until he broke the academy's record for the pistol disassembly and reassembly exercise. Afterward, he shot that classmate to make a point. From this, you can see that Tserriednich resembles Netero in some ways. Netero himself understood this kind of training to increase his strength. He hated losing, and he longed for someone who could fight him man to man. Netero was ambitious, just like Tserriednich. In chapter 404, Tserriednich was able to use Zetsu in just 3 seconds after 3 days of training, a feat that terrified his guard Salkov. Tserriednich was not satisfied with the result. In fact, he was angry. He told Salkov, honestly, I feel a bit frustrated that my timing hasn't improved, but I don't think optimism alone will help me. The 1 second barrier exists on a completely different level. It may take me 7, 10, or even 14 days in the worst case. Then, in the obsessed and angry tone, he added, I will surpass it. I will break it. At that moment, Salkov realized why Prince Tserriednich was exceptional and capable of learning things at incredible speed. He said, Tserriednich's perception of time is completely different from ordinary people. The way we measure our time and what we can accomplish in a given period is entirely unlike his. This could even be seen as a hint from Togashi that Tserriednich is Netero's grandson. And with the frames Togashi gives us, along with the similarities between the two characters, it seems almost certain. So why do I, psychos say, that Tserriednich might not be Netero's son, even though many seem almost convinced he is? In fact, and you might find this surprising, I don't actually think Beyond has any children among the princes. But let's focus on Tserriednich for now, and then we'll move on to the next idea. Back in Old England, thieves were often chased by dogs trained to track scents. These dogs could follow their target with incredible accuracy, even if the thief tried to hide. To escape, some thieves used a clever trick. They carried smoked herring, a fish with an extremely strong and pungent smell. When the dogs got close, the thieves would drag the fish along the path or throw it in another direction. The dogs, drawn to the strong scent, would lose the trail, leaving the original path behind. From this practice came the term red herring, symbolizing any method used to mislead an opponent or distract attention. Later, it became a literary tool in detective stories, where the author plants a false clue to make the reader believe something incorrect, while the real truth is hidden elsewhere. There are many things I respect about Togashi as a writer, one of which is that he always avoids conventional paths. His scenarios are never predictable. Take chapter 392, for example. We thought the character who appeared was Hisoka. All the evidence pointed to him: his speech, his style, even his aura. On top of that, Lynch confirmed it was Hisoka through her ability. Here, Togashi had us chasing a red herring. Later, we discover it wasn't Hisoka at all, but Bonolenov the mummy. The same goes for Tserriednich and whether he is really Beyond's son. Togashi deliberately shows you certain obvious things to distract you from the main issue. If you focus too much on Tserriednich and become convinced he is Beyond's son, you'll feel like a brilliant detective who just uncovered something huge, while the real truth is somewhere else entirely. When these chapters were released, I saw most fans on Twitter claiming Tserriednich was Beyond's son, but the moment Togashi casually showed the resemblance between Tserriednich and Netero, I immediately thought the opposite. Even if Beyond does have a child among the princes, it's impossible for it to be Tserriednich. I know Togashi well. One of the main reasons I love his story is that he's completely unpredictable. But revealing his cards this openly, that's just not his style. Take the case of Hisoka's appearance as an example. I personally fell into the trap because of Lynch's ability, but many others suspected it wasn't Hisoka. Perhaps Illumi in disguise. They knew Togashi's style. He doesn't reveal important plot points this easily. Everyone was searching for Hisoka in the lower floors, while Hisoka himself had learned from his fight with Crollo and was no longer the reckless attacker he once was. Therefore, it is completely illogical for Togashi to show Hisoka casually walking around as if the Phantom Troop isn't after him. Chapter 4, 101 was one of the best chapters of the Succession War, because we discovered that Lungi is Beyond's daughter. This chapter was clearly planned with precision, but if Tserriednich were Beyond's son, the event would have to be on the same level as Lungi's reveal, or even bigger. In terms of character importance and role in the story, Tserriednich ranks far above Lungi. It's hard to accept that Lungi's event was given all that secrecy and planning, while Tserriednich was basically handed to us on a silver platter. Togashi always surprises us by subverting expected scenarios. Take the fight between Crollo and Hisoka, for example. That could have happened in the York New Arc, but Togashi suddenly presented it as a midway surprise during preparations for the Dark Continent expedition. Gon wanted to hunt down his father, and in every arc, we thought the story of Hunter x Hunter would end with this goal, but the encounter turned out completely differently than we imagined. You could even say Gon failed in that objective. For instance, when Kurapika lost 5 years of his life, we learned that each use of Emperor Time consumes an hour of his lifespan. We all probably thought the same thing. In the future, Kurapika might end up consuming the rice of extended life. But now looking back, I think that's unlikely. In short, this is why I believe Tserriednich is not Beyond's son. So what about the idea that Beyond doesn't have any child among the princes at all? Before I start, I want to clarify something. What I'm about to say is my personal opinion, based on my analysis. No one is obligated to agree with me. The discussion space will remain open. For me, I don't think Beyond actually has a child among the princes, but this isn't certain. I could be wrong or I could be right. This table represents my opinion. I am fairly confident that Tserriednich is not Beyond's son, but I cannot say the same for the other princes. I'll explain my reasoning at the end of the me video. For now, let's go with the majority opinion and assume Beyond does have a child among the princes. Who could that be among the remaining princes? If we exclude the deceased princes, as well as Tserriednich, Benjamin, and Zhang Li, there are 8 princes left. The most suspected name among fans is Princess Wobble. Most fans follow the theory that Wobble is Beyond's daughter and Queen Oito is Beyond's mistress, but her memory was erased to prevent her from revealing the plan. This also explains why Pariston's followers, like Bill and the others, were part of her security team. Some also believe that even the silent majority is Beyond's soldier, which is why he attacked Room 1014 and eliminated all the spies. To analyze this theory, we first need to understand Beyond's motivation. Why would Beyond place a child among the princes? What's the goal? Wasn't his main goal the Dark Continent? What would he gain if his child became king of Kakin? It's difficult to pinpoint Beyond's objective because the evidence is scarce, but there are some key ideas. One is Lungi's theory, which suggests that Beyond wants to control Kakin. Of course, he couldn't achieve that if, for example, Tserriednich or one of the major princes were his child, because they would not obey him even if they knew he was their father. So it would make more sense for him to target the last cluster and control Kakin through Wobble. I can say this goal seems somewhat weak, or at least a large part of it is unclear, because if your goal is to rule Kakin and you've been planning it for 50 years, taking the last prince would be extremely risky. It's like making a move in the final minutes. Highly dangerous and hard to achieve. Imagine you're Beyond, waiting for the last prince to execute the plan you've worked on for decades. You're not the one controlling King Nasubi's marriage, and the king might make this move even before Beyond realizes it. That's a little suspicious. There's another point. Before signing the contract with Kurapika, Lungi told him that her true goal and motivation was to kill any of Beyond's offspring among the princes. If the story later develops to reveal that Princess Wobble is Beyond's daughter, the situation would become very complicated. Yes, it's not impossible, but the scenario where Kurapika signs the contract with Lungi and it ends with her trying to kill Wobble, I don't see that working well. In chapter 4, 101, Lungi said that if her father, Beyond, had been completely honest with her, even if it meant sacrificing her, she wouldn't have made that decision. Then she left the room in tears. From this, it's easy to predict that a dramatic story will unfold in the future between Lungi and Beyond, and the dramatic conflict won't center on Kurapika and Wobble. It could be similar to the dynamics of Killua and Illumi, or Meruem and Komugi, and it might not take up a large portion of the story. This is why I believe the direction of this event won't go against Princess Wobble or an attempt on her life. Of course, I must emphasize that this is just a prediction and analysis based on observing Togashi's style. The idea that Beyond would place his child among the princes is a bit unusual. Beyond knows this is a succession war and that Prince would definitely be targeted by spies of the queens and guards of other princes, so he would need to place a skilled person or several people to protect this prince from upcoming dangers. However, Princess Wobble doesn't seem truly protected, especially since Pariston's followers among the hunters weren't that strong. While the silent majority did eliminate all the guards and spies, this didn't help Wobble or Kurapika much. Kurapika himself ended up in a vulnerable position due to a lack of guards and information, so he tried to manage the situation by creating a stalemate in the succession war using Nen lessons. In short, what I'm saying is that if it weren't for Kurapika, Princess Wobble might have died long ago, and Kurapika, of course, is an external factor with no relation to Beyond's plan. Unless Beyond possesses the artifact Feather 008 that Anne Zangwell has in Lord of Mysteries, the idea that Wobble is Beyond's daughter seems very weak. Even when I consider other more suitable names, I find gaps in the puzzle. For example, Prince Meruem, the 13th prince, has some traits that might make you suspect he is Beyond's son. He's easy to control. His mother could potentially have had a relationship with Beyond, but his Nen beast, which transports him to another dimension, clearly wouldn't fit into Beyond's plan. So there are holes and gaps in the theory. If Beyond does have a son among the princes, I would assume this prince must be an adult, and Beyond would have told him as a child that he was his son and explained his plan. The person that comes to my mind is Prince Lazarus, the 7th prince, and let me tell you why. In chapter 390, when the 3rd prince, Chang Li, descended to see his father, Anyor said something important. He said, or implied, that Nasubi won the previous succession war because he waited and was the last to act. When I first read this dialogue, it reignited the suspicion I had about one of the princes. The prince who doesn't care about his clothes, despite being a prince. The prince who never took action in the succession war. The prince who, although low-ranking, has the support of a mafia family. And the prince whose Nen beast is strange and doesn't match his personality. I'll say this and repeat it often in my videos, so remember it. A prince's Nen beast ability comes from the prince's personality. Second Princess Camellia is arrogant and domineering, and her Nen beast reflects manipulation. 5th Princess Tobipa is a scholar, and her Nen beast is a transformer that can assemble different chemical materials in its body. So what would the Nen beast of a lazy prince be like? Someone who doesn't move much, doesn't care about the succession war, and just smokes weed? In my opinion, his Nen beast would resemble Tompa, but with a strange and unique ability. But the 7th prince's Nen beast ability is a trick, a trap, a cunning deception. This is strange because Prince Lazarus has shown a kind side of his personality through his conversation with Basho about regulating marijuana and helping addicts. So could it be that the persona of the 7th prince we saw is fake, and he is merely acting to hide something bigger up his sleeve? And also, is he Beyond's son, knowing this and just waiting for his father's command? For some time, I found Prince Lazarus to be a mysterious figure, and I have my doubts about him. And as usual, I might be overthinking, and he could just be an ordinary prince. Now let's move to the part about why I don't think Beyond has a son among the princes. First, we need to understand that Longi only said that Beyond might have a son among the princes as a speculation, not as a confirmed fact. She literally told Kurapika he will meet the ability condition among them, even if her prediction turns out to be wrong and Beyond has no children among the princes. This kind of dialogue isn't something Togashi would write lightly. In a way, it feels like a disclaimer for the readers, in case her prediction is proven wrong later. So if you combine all the arguments I've given before, along with the lack of a clear real goal for Beyond behind this action, you might reach the same conclusion as I did. When chapter 401 was first released, I couldn't find a real practical goal that would benefit Beyond from all this. Beyond's primary and ultimate goal is the Dark Continent. The succession war, the princes, and all the chaos on the ship are just tools for him to reach the Dark Continent and succeed in exploring it. So a simple goal like controlling Karkin didn't seem logical to me. Beyond doesn't seem interested in the small human world. His vision is much bigger. Even the idea that controlling Kakin would ensure the continuation of Dark Continent expeditions didn't seem convincing. It's clear that the expeditions would continue under Beyond's plan. However, with the appearance of the sacred treasures in previous chapters, I started thinking that these treasures could actually be a real goal for Beyond, something that could increase his power and help him against the Dark Continent's beasts and disasters. When Togashi introduced these treasures, it opened a new door for Nen battles. It started to feel similar to the cursed weapons in Jujutsu Kaisen. Previously, Nen weapons were either manifestations like Kite and Kurapika's weapons, or support tools like Nobunaga with his sword or Killua with his yo-yos. But now, a weapon itself imbued with Nen through ancient rituals is something we will see a lot of in the future. Let's go back to Beyond and delve deeper into the matter of the curses he placed on his children. Many say that the curse ability belongs specifically to Beyond, or that he is its owner, but I believe this is not correct. The curse ability, in my view, doesn't really fit Beyond. Among the recorded Dark Continent expeditions, the only one that could be considered somewhat successful was Beyond's expedition when he was about to bring the Metallian plant, if it weren't for his crew losing the way and the plant withering. It's clear that Beyond has immense offensive and defensive Nen abilities, as well as great skills to operate in the Dark Continent. However, the curse ability doesn't fit the atmosphere of direct combat, so it's more reasonable to assume that Beyond has another partner, the one who actually owns the curse ability. I know most of you will immediately think of Pariston, and I partially agree, but my intuition tells me that the ability might belong to someone else. Of course, Pariston's profile fits the curse ability perfectly. It matches his personality. Even Ging hinted that Pariston doesn't have the physical power for such feats, so if the catastrophe were triggered in the hands of the unpredictable Pariston, it would definitely be thrilling. In chapter 401, Beyond asked Kanzai to bring someone to speak with him. This person could be the owner of the curse ability, and it could also be Pariston, or maybe it's his son among the princes, if one exists and my guess is wrong. Regardless of the personality of Beyond that has been revealed to us, I still can't see him as a villain. So, do you think Beyond has a son among the princes? And if so, who do you think this prince could be?